Hello everyone, this is Jeremy and welcome to episode 15 of Nuclear Earth Reirradiated. Last episode we set up all these big tall towers that have all been snowed on by now, and we made our nuclear fuel. We also ended the episode by crafting the fusion electromagnets, which are done. I promised I would check every now and then to see how long this craft took, and it took an incredibly long time. After about 2 hours I stopped checking because I have one significant bottleneck in the process of crafting these. So if we look here, I had to craft 48,000 flint, and I was crafting flint in my grinder. While it's pretty quick at crafting flint, let's kick off like, I don't know, a couple hundred just to go take a look. While the grinder itself is pretty fast, it does one item at a time. So it does what, maybe like 5 a second-ish? Yeah, this was the bottleneck by a quarter mile. Like everything else, probably if this step was faster, everything else would have probably finished within an hour. But after 2 hours, it was like halfway done grinding the flint. So I suspect it took somewhere around 4 hours to finish crafting all of these fusion things. Anyways, my point is, if I have to make another fusion reactor later, or more coils, which we probably will, I'm going to want a much faster flip maker for that, or perhaps even a passive flip maker. Anyways, now that we have these though, I think we're ready to put together our fusion thingy. So the quest wants us to turn most of these into transparent coils. I'm just gonna turn them all into transparents. Oopsies, can we not? Oh, it takes a piece of glass. The transparent and the regular ones are fully interchangeable with each other, so no reason not to use the transparent variant. And we can switch it back if needed. That is our hardest quest to date complete, giving us a lot of good stuff. Those plates will be key to making probably more fusion stuff later. Fusion connectors we'll need later if we want to make a larger... Yeah, this is just all for the future if we want larger fusion coils. I guess I'm kind of curious. Will it take, now that we have those plates, to make another 100? So 1,000 diamonds, that's no big deal. 33,000 flint, a bunch more iridium, tin, but I can switch my tin over to tin dust to crushing the ingot form, because I know I have a metric boatload of tin. Besides that, not bad. Maybe later, but yeah, our centrifuge has made us 78,000 tin ingots in a day. So stuff that comes out of that centrifuge are no longer, we're never going to run out of. I can reasonably confidently say. Where was it? Right here. Everything's covered in a layer of snow. So 17,000 copper, a bunch of electrum, tungsten. Oh look, and at some point it centrifuged the raw material. Oh, it actually ran out of lava. If this is out of lava, I presume we actually just ran out of lava on the other side. Let's check real quick. More out of curiosity than anything else. Well, that's a disaster. You did an incredibly poor... Well, you are done pumping, but you did an incredibly poor job of actually getting every source block. Yeah, I'm just going to not worry about it. Now let's build the actual fusion reactor. Is there enough room around it? Let's move it a little bit further. It's, that was a lot of particles. It's pretty big. Alright, so you start by placing the fusion core itself, and then you build a ring along the inside using these electromagnets. This is a size 1, I guess, reactor. If you want a larger one on each of these 4 like pylons here, you just use those fusion something or another's, those extenders, connectors, to push the ring out a block, but that naturally causes it to use more total components. So since I'm lacking on components at the moment, we make do with what we got. Anyways, then you build an outer ring. Then you build a bottom ring. Basically, you want to enclose a like a 1 wide air gap. That's where your actual fusion will happen. And that's why this uses so many electromagnets, even for size 0. And then a top ring. When you first place everything, you'll notice that they're all red. You then have to pump some energy into them to turn them green. So to do that, you don't have to necessarily hook up energy to every block, but it's kind of just easiest to do so. Run some wires around these. The electromagnets will transfer energy to each other, but because they're technically not connected to each other, you still have to like provide power to each of the rings, and they only provided power to neighbors at a certain rate. So it's a little bit tricky to power them through each other. Anyways, give me some more ultimate these. And where do I have power? Connect to this. And then you'll see that the connected ones turn green. So do the same thing. Sure, we'll make it a little bit ugly, because what's a Jimmy build without being a little bit ugly? And everything should turn green. All right, when it's all green, you right click this. It'll say toroid size is 1, so that's the size of a reactor. That's a multiplier on it's a multiplier on the max power, a divisor on the combo lifetime, and I think the temperature is unchanged. So because we're doing DT fusion, every 250 ticks, it takes 1 bucket of each, so it uses basically 4 millibuckets per tick of input fuel, and there's some other stats about it. All right, now just to get the fuel into here, let's just use ender fluid conduits. It's not that long a distance, right? Any and all IO can be done through any block of the fusion core, so we're just gonna go to that one. It automatically charges itself up to a certain temperature. I think it's, I guess, just above 2000 kilokelvin or 2 megakelvin, 2 million degrees. Using that consumes energy, and then I guess it slowly cools down over time as well. But anyways, to get it started, we should probably drop a mega torch here so that I don't get assaulted. Oh, let me go craft some. Would hate to have a creeper blow up our fusion reactor after all this time. I placed my mega torches and then my terminal won't turn on. I think it's because we ran out of power. And that's because each of those fusion electromagnets, while they're plugged in, uses 200 RF a tick. So while we're running these, or we can't probably run the fusion reactor and these void miners until our fusion reactor is like actually producing output. The void miners do turn off with the redstone signal, but if I can't access my ME system, I can't actually make a torch or a lever to turn them off. All right, come on, ME system, it's time to turn on again. Turns out that my main energy sink was actually these electromagnets. Each one, I said, takes 200. Let me double check that. Electromagnet, yeah, 200 RF a tick to remain active. There's 94 of them, so round that to 100. That's 20,000 RF a tick. Kind of 20,000 RF a tick from our fusion system has to go into powering itself. Of course, our turbine doesn't make 20,000 RF a tick, so we actually power it off energy buffer until we can get the thing running. But I think that's okay. Wow, almost immediately the entire buffer is drained. Where did it drain such a large buffer into? Oh, the rest. No, I don't know. Whatever. Pump fluid in. So you want it on prevent input overflow unless you're using the same fuel in both slots. Basically, prevent input overflow prevents fuel from one tank going to the other. At this point, I think we're ready to start it up. So let's grab a lever. It powers when any block of the core receives a redstone signal, I believe. Okay, that's quite clearly not how you power it. No? Oh, that's how you powered it. No, energy generation 0. Ah, I got it. We have to reach 8,000 kilokelvin before we're allowed to start the reactor up. So I think what I'm going to do is wait for our energy buffer to effectively fill up and then dump it all in at once. And I think if it's completely full, it might get us there. It might at least get us close. Otherwise, we might have to come up with something clever. Actually, can we... This might just be the clever thing. Can we pump power into this without powering the electromagnets? Energy buffer is almost full, and I want to try dumping it directly into the core. So that's probably where all our energy went. Right now, 1600 megakelvin, and that did dump all the energy, getting up to not nearly enough, but it is rising. That's good. So I think like this, we can keep pumping power into it until it hits 8,000. Might take a little bit. I can also turn this off. Do you react to a redstone signal? There's a redstone by the word state, so I assume you do. Yeah, that works. Okay, so that reduces our energy load by what, 3,000 RF a tick? By the way, 277,000 ender pearls. Someone also mentioned that the EXP that was in this tank is actually from the fact that the thing produces solidified experience, and sometimes the solidified experience goes into the fluid tank instead of into the crate for the ME system, and that's where this 439 levels of EXP have come from the fluid tank melting the experience. Anyways, we are heating up. Let's just wait for it at this point. Shouldn't take that much longer, I hope. Based on how much energy the thing has sucked in just to get up to this temperature, I feel like we were supposed to do the fission reactor first, which makes sense. You typically do fission before fusion, but I kind of looked at this fission chain, and like the regular Nuclearcraft fission ends here, right? And there's like all this stuff past it to make neutronium. I was like, nope, we're gonna look at that later. So yeah, the fission is very intimidating in this pack. I mean, look at these lines. Send help. These better not be and lines, otherwise these quests are not getting completed. I'm 100% sure these quests are not being completed. Anyways, almost there. Here come the last few degrees, and we've hit 8,000. So once at 8,000, it just uses energy to maintain the temperature, which might result in excess energy buildup, I hope. Can I power the electromagnets and keep it at 8,000? I sure hope I can. Come on, everything turn green. Turn green. I dare you. Double dog dare you. Stay at 8,000 degrees. Stay. Son of a... How do I keep it at 8,000 and power my electromagnets? This is awkward. Now I can heat this up, but then I depower my electromagnets. I need an energy buffer. I need to make like another 5,000 RF a tick or so. Never mind. I turned off as much passive demand as I could, so I turned off that void miner with a redstone. At least I think I did. It looks like it's still running, but you're off, right? Yeah, you're powered. You're off. And then I like turned off the heater for the towers. Basically everything's off, and at this point we're just barely positive. Every now and then when this temperature drops below 8,000, it consumes a burst of energy out of the cable to like reheat itself, but this number is very slowly going up over time. And I think if I just leave this on, as soon as it is possible for the thing to start, it will start. I hope. So the next time it eats a burst of energy, I'm gonna plug in the electromagnets, and as soon as all the electromagnets turn on, it will kick on and start generating energy. Once it starts generating, it no longer needs to consume energy to keep itself heated. So all the extra energy can now go into keeping the electromagnets powered. And now we should be energy positive. So because this thing is still very cold, we are not generating very much RF, right? The optimum temperature for this fusion was something like 800 and something megakelvin. Let's take a look again. 816 megakelvin. Right now we are at 40. So as this temperature goes up, we will approach our efficiency limit, and our energy production will go up. Once we exceed that temperature, though, our efficiency will start going back down. So we want to try to keep the reactor hovering, close-ish to our maximum efficiency value. Afterwards, we can use coolers to keep the temperature running at that thing so we don't have to keep toggling it on and off. The reactor also has a maximum temperature of, I don't even know what that number is, but if you exceed that number, the thing melts down. So you definitely want to stay well short of that. Because we're doing a relatively low temperature reaction, like I think our optimum temperature will be like down here somewhere, it's not realistically a worry, but it does mean that if we just let it run to its heart's content, it will eventually melt itself down. Anyways, to measure either the efficiency or the heat, you just use this button, and that determines whether or not the comparator output is for efficiency or heat. I want efficiency mode. And then you can just plug a comparator into the fusion core to read its energy state. of course, runs into a small problem, and that is when your thing is of size 1, you actually can't plug the comparator in anywhere. I get around that by using redstone conduits. So if you... Uh-oh. Maybe I don't get around that by using redstone conduits. Does that connect? Okay, it does. If you use a redstone sensor filter, it connects as if there were a comparator there. And then you can do the rest of your logic either with vanilla redstone or, you know, however you like. But if I grab a actual comparator and put it here, and then output red, and then if we look at the signal strength, it should show, for now, a pretty low value because we're not very efficient. Yep, a value of 1. But as that value gets higher, it'll output a maximum of 15 at efficiency 90%, I believe. So then all we want to do is read that value out, loop it back into the reactor, and use that to control it. Let me show you what I mean. Read out the efficiency from the fusion core on one channel. Redstone conduits can be a little wonky. I try to avoid them when possible. I think there's a bug in them that causes signals from one color to sometimes leak to another, but I can't say for sure that I'm not just configuring it wrong. But anyways, input on one channel, output that to the comparator. Because we're basically looking for maximum value, we compare it to a value of 15, which means that it will only output if the input value is exactly 15 or full strength. Then we not gate that signal, transfer that back into the fusion core. So this is on the blue channel, which goes back into this. And right now our lever is on off, you know, we can get rid of it, but it's still receiving a redstone signal. So it's running. I'm not going to deal with the output fluids yet. Of this, really only neutronium fluid's valuable, like helium, whatever. I believe we can even just make helium with a helium collector. So yeah, helium's not very valuable, but the neutron fluid can be. Anyways, this does, as our efficiency here gets higher, can we see the value being sent into this? Yeah, we can by looking at the connector. So it's 8 right now. We can effectively test it by getting rid of that, right? When we get rid of that, it should cause our reactor to shut down. Cause our reactor to shut down. This is why I don't trust redstone conduits. Is it shut down? This reactor is very much not shut down, right? Why is this? Does it need to be a strong signal? But I mean, if it was a strong signal, it would not turn on. Let's, here. Isolate and test. And by that, I mean, make sure that, well, identify whether or not we're actually sending a signal. So no, there's no signal being sent on blue. Then why are you still running? You are running, right? This isn't just residual. Yeah, you must be running because output's going up. Even though you're most definitely not receiving a redstone signal. Are you being signaled on brown for some reason? I mean, you should be being signaled on brown. Oh wait, I'm on input. Dirt. First of all, hold on. How the heck is green getting signaled? There's not a single connector on green in this thing. I'm definitely not leaking a redstone signal from here to there because this isn't a solid block. And this isn't even powered. What in God's name? This is like super weird. I've turned off the output altogether, right? It's still running. Like, how could it still be running? Or is this just residual? This might just be residual. Because it hasn't consumed... No, it did consume additional fuel. There's literally nothing that could be giving it a redstone signal. Unless you are somehow leaking your input directly to output. Are you still running? Yes. I'm so baffled. All right, Ender Isle, I've lost... I'm not even 100% sure it's Ender Isle's fault, but I've kind of lost faith in its conduits. Is that leaking to it? No, it's still going up. It might just need a block update. Let's see what happens if I toggle a lever on it. No, it's still running. Big dirt moment. I've been doing this wrong. A redstone signal at the top of the fusion reactor doesn't do anything. It never has, never will. Read the documentation, Jimmy. There is no documentation. There's a single YouTube video by the author that describes the reactor. But I should have watched that first. The way you control it is by sending a redstone signal. Ooh, there's a hole down here. To the bottom block, and only the bottom block. So let's physically get there. Can we do that? All right. And then now if we put the lever here, that shuts it off. Yes. So applying a positive redstone signal to the bottom block shuts it off. Now all we have to do is come up with a way to actually do so. I still don't like Ender IO. I'm like that thing where green channel was lit up when there was nothing on it. 100% has to be an Ender IO bug. And when it comes to not melting down our fusion controller, I'm not terribly tempted to trust something that has already demonstrated that it leaks a signal, right? So let's just use the integrated dynamics redstone stuff. The redstone reader here can read a comparator value out of the thing without actually needing a comparator, which is nice. I think you can actually transfer a comparator through a fusion electromagnet, definitely if you use a solid one. So technically, I guess you can do it with vanilla redstone, even on with pure vanilla redstone. But anyways, then I want to take this value and subtract, well, either comparator it with 15, but I think I can quite easily just actually subtract 15. So I want an integer value of an integer constant of 15, program it to that, and then I want to do subtraction, subtract. So I want this value minus 15 is this value. And then we put the two reference variables into a variable store, this value into output redstone integer, and if it's I assume it'll be like this number can be less than 0, but if it's less than 0 it outputs a redstone value of 0. Wait, that's not what I want. I want this number to be 14. I want to output the redstone value minus 14. Hold on, simple math. Oops, that's 1. Anyways, because our variables reference each other by variable, then it'll read, the variable there as 1. So, or as 14 rather. So that causes us to turn off when our efficiency is at 100, basically above 90%. I am curious about something. Let's take this out for a while. If I let the heat get too high, you're not active. Why are you not running right now? Oh no, you are running. Number is going up. If I let the heat get too high, does efficiency drop? Or does it continue rising? Or does it stay at 100% all the way up to here? Let's find out. We are still below the optimum temperature, I believe. So let's see. Our optimum temperature was what again? There's a lot of thinking going on today. 816 megakelvin. We are currently at, that's definitely less than 816. So I'm going to intentionally let this number overshoot and see what happens. I was going to just wait for this, but it's looking like it's going to take upwards of 10 minutes to exceed the ideal temperature, and the temperature change rate is actually going down as it gets hotter too. So let's just leave it be for now. I'll come back and revisit this later. But for now, we're now making a lot more energy than we can hope to consume, right? We're making 164,000 RF a tick, and we're not using nearly that much of it. So I think it's time we made some type of energy storage. And if we're going to make energy storage, we may as well go for the best. And that would be the induction stuff from Mekanism. Each induction cell is a multi-block where the total storage depends on the number of induction cells you have, each one providing 204 billion RF to the storage, and the energy output rate is dependent on the number of induction providers you have at 13.1 million RF per tick per induction provider. Let's start with just like one of each ultimate. The way these induction cube or induction whatever cell recipes work is that each tier uses 4 of the previous one. So you end up having to make a metric boatload of the basic one, which requires a whole lot of basic cells, and each of these is a steel casing. And steel casings are not cheap, my friend. I have a feeling we're not going to be able to do this. 83,000 bytes, what's missing? We need some bauxite. Bauxite of all things. I guess it's to make titanium. Alright, let's see, is there some other titanium recipe? Well, so that's a cell. I think the provider is very similar. That's an advanced provider. It's also not, like, it's not sorted. Oh, are these are items that are only differentiated by MBT data. Encoding the recipes is really annoying, but that's probably why, because of MBT, because it's only MBT data differentiation. Anyways, it looks like we're even more short on bauxite to make the 2 of those. Both of those are to use to make titanium. So is there an alternate titanium source? Every 12 pieces of bauxite, which is what, like 3? Every 3 ores makes half the titanium. So every 6 ores makes 1 titanium. That's kind of an awful deal. What else can we get titanium from? From titanium, or titanium, or titanium, or titanium. Or titanium plates, or we duplicate it with fusion. Well, this is really our only option. It uses 1.2 million RF to make, and a little bit more in per tick cost to make titanium. I think it's far more reasonable to make titanium this way. So, how about we start with a one tier down. The wait, elite. So 25 billion storage and 1.6 million per tick IO. That's honestly probably just enough. And then we can look at the fusion replicator stuff to use some of our newfound energy. All right, you craft this, and which cell was it? This cell. Uh-oh, I need a... Wait, what? I'm out of chorus fruit? No way. I have 23,000 of it. Excuse me? Elite induction cell, right? Okay. I don't know why you thought I was out. Which one was this? I just want to make sure I'm not crafting the same one twice. This is a provider. All right, yeah. No. All right, then I also need some casings. 30 should suffice, and 2 ports. For now, a relatively small induction housing can hold our entire thing. I'm going to make a 4x4 exterior, which leaves room for up to 8, I think, internal slots. That should be plenty. So we'll put the, let's see, put an input here. And I think you have to hit it with the configurator to set it or something. Yeah. So this side is input. And I guess, am I allowed to put an output here? Or does it have to be on an edge or a side? No. Based on the fact that it didn't form, I assume it doesn't like that. There we go, that form. And then set you to output. Plug that in. Plug this in, and then disconnect that. Alright, so all the energy coming out of the reactor has to go through the energy induction cell now, where it'll buffer energy for any future use. Let's take a look at it just to be sure. Yep, so it's input 169,000 for now. Well, yeah, okay. So then I think looking at that number, I saw that it was going down, which means that we have overshot our maximum efficiency. Yep, and now our efficiency number is decreasing, which is bad. So I think what we want to do is turn it off once we hit the, I think it's 90%, 90% when it outputs the maximum signal. So because of that, it'll now start cooling down, and then once it cool downs enough, it'll toggle back on. It does cool down much faster than it heats up. So as a result of this, it'll run at like it'll run at its peak efficiency, but it'll have to shut down for like 1 tick every 10 on average. And because my gate isn't latched or anything, it'll basically shut down for 1 tick, run for a bunch of ticks, shut down for 1 tick, and stay at peak efficiency. So this will both not overheat and run at maximum efficiency. So with that, I think our reactor is basically done. I could set up something to store this neutron fluid, but I looked at uses of neutron fluid in this pack, and it doesn't terribly interest me. Basically, we could use it to make tritium fuel. That's its main purpose. But that makes tritium fuel just fine. So, not interested. Onto the fusion replicator then. Before we make the fusion replicator, though, I think I want to make the UU matter that goes into it. So let's pin this just so we can pull up its recipes easily. Almost everything it does here uses UU matter as one of the inputs. So this is made in a fusion... Oh, not this class. It's made in a matter fabricator with scrap. So to make scrap, we need a whole bunch of recyclers. And I'm going to place them, maybe not along that way. I do find it really annoying that they don't get energy from ultimate cable or from universal cables, though. Let's place them facing. Recyclers take any item and have a chance to turn it into scrap. So they use a lot of input items, and I find it pretty easy to just fill it with chiseled bits of water, because you get a lot of chiseled bits of water per thing of water. I think it's like 16 cubed. I don't know what that comes out to be, but it's a big number. So fill a chisel bit tank from a sink. You can't use an ender fluid conduit for this. You need something that moves fluid in at least 1 bucket intervals. So the ender fluid conduit, even fully upgraded, does not move it in 1 bucket interval, so it doesn't do the job. But the logic, whatever, integrated dynamics does it just fine. Then I use that to move the items to recyclers, which recycle them into scrap, and then we can use that to move it all into one of these matter fabricators. Give it some power as well. I've swapped over to using the glass fiber cables just because I can. Sure, we'll keep this up. I, for the life of me, do not know why the matter fabricator has like 6 input slots and 5 output slots when it takes at most 1 input and has at most 1 output. But yeah, whatever. Set all these to input, and then set this to output from, I guess, that side. I changed it to use the top side instead, just to make the wiring a little bit cleaner. But anyways, this now takes scrap, turns it into UU matter. Seems to be about maybe 20 scrap per, maybe a bit more. I don't know. It makes UU matter plenty fast, though. In theory, I think we need a couple more recyclers to keep up with running this 100% of the time. But I don't care to run this 100% of the time. All right, so anyways, that's UU matter. Now we have to actually make the fusion replicator controller. So, well, I think I already made did I make it? No, I didn't, never mind. Let's make the controller first. And then, because we're only using this to do energy negative recipes, there's no advantage to having, okay, that's not true. There's 1 energy positive recipe. But there's no, with the exception of this recipe, there's no advantage to having a larger ring. The ring only, excuse me, you can't be here. Thank you, protect me. The ring only helps when you're doing energy positive recipes. It increases the energy output. But because we're not doing any, excuse me, you can't be here. There's like a mega torch here. I'm like standing, maybe I'm not standing right next to it. Stop chasing me, bad guys. I need to do the Astral Sorcery ritual to keep these guys really far away. But yeah, there's no benefit. I keep getting distracted. There's no benefit to doing the energy. Well, there are no energy positive recipes to do, so we don't need a large reactor. The end. And in all that time I was trying to defend myself, our thing has finished. So for the minimum size one, like, is that the minimum size? Yeah, we need 16 coils. All right, let's make 16 coils. Hopefully there's no bottlenecks here. Have at it. The fusion replicator here takes energy in on the sides and outputs on the top and bottom, although the output's somewhat irrelevant because we do no energy positive recipes. So, basic size one, and then all we have to do, I guess, is pump the items in. How do I... Let's just use it manually for a little bit at first, just to understand how it works. So if I take titanium dust and... Come on, make it for me. And some of this UU matter, does it consume the input? I mean, I assume it'll consume... Don't stand on the fusion reactor when you turn it on, Jimmy. Oh my gosh. Alright, Techreborn, you got me on that one. I knew that would happen. Not like five... Not the rolling machine. Okay, I was like, why does my... Hold on. Are you running? You're not anymore. Give me my stuff back. Ah. Oh look, we completed some tasks. Alright, re-equip our gear. All of our stuff is in the wrong slot. Oh my gosh, I hate this grave mod. Why can't we get the grave mod that puts our stuff back in the right slot? I got my head again. Anyways, yeah, so it does consume the titanium dust input. But it is pretty quick at making more. Alright, well, this works for now. Oh wow, it has a huge internal buffer. Given that most of the recipes that we do in this thing are, like, take the same input as they have outputs, they're very bad recipes to do on demand. Applied Energistics is very bad at resolving these. In fact, it generally speaking cannot resolve cyclic recipes. So instead of doing them on demand, we just have to run them passively. And because I don't want to make one fusion replicator setup for each resource we want to replicate, although at a glance, I really only see two that are really worth doing it this way, titanium and chrome. But, because I don't see too much reason to do this, like one reactor for each, I'll just set up this reactor to do both of them, and we just need a way to, you know, choose which one to run at any given time. I'll probably base that off level emitters. But anyways, as for the IO, my plan is to run it off of mostly phantom faces, because it's kind of in the middle of nowhere here. So one slot is inserted UU matter only from that phantom face, and then it exports into this phantom face, which is linked to one of the interfaces somewhere in the base that I've forgotten about. So now we just have to detect when our ME system is sufficiently low on certain, you know, titanium or chrome, and then drop it into here. Accomplish that by having export buses controlled with level emitters, or controlled by redstone cards, controlled by level emitters that go into an item interface that effectively is just a, this, I suppose, could have just as well been a phantom face for the fusion replicator. But anyways, that causes the materials to be jammed in up until a limit. So I have my limit set to 500 right now, although we can adjust that if needed. And then once it reaches 500, the thing will turn off. It'll still have the stack of it inside, so it'll overshoot by a bit, so it doesn't like flicker or anything. But then eventually, you know, it'll clear out, like it'll meet its goal of titanium, and then it'll switch over to chrome, and then meet its goal on chrome, and then be done. Now, it does use a lot of energy, because, let's see, the energy did I disconnect? No, everything's plugged in. I guess it doesn't accept energy while it's running. There should be energy coming into it right now. I don't know. It uses 19k RF per tick while running, but it also uses, you know, it has a startup energy of, I think it's like 1 million? 1.2 million. So in total, it uses, I don't know what this comes out to, 20, what is 20 times 20? About 400? Wait, 20 times 20, yeah, it's about 4, so about like a little bit under 2 million RF to clone a piece of titanium, excluding the energy that goes into making the UU matter. That's not too bad. Now, I think the next thing I want to do is just set up a couple blast furnaces to automatically turn this titanium and chrome into ingots. So the dusts usually don't have, yeah, they don't have any purpose other than to be turned into ingots. As long as I don't use my very last dust, we can keep duplicating it as well. So let's set up a blast furnace for that. The requirement that we not use our last dust does complicate this processing a little bit, so we need another set of level emitters here that turns off the extraction of items from the ME system when our dust threshold hits a certain minimum. I just have it set to 50 as opposed to 1, just to make sure, because I think there might be like a second for the conduit to realize, oh wait, I'm supposed to stop. So anyways, what happens is the level emitters control whether or not the conduits extract, and then each one is filtered to a material and a channel. So chrome goes in one, titanium goes in the other. I think I started it before putting the overclockers in, so it's a little slow. But those will output to these bins, and then I can put a storage bus on these bins or something. And then we will have automated passive processing of titanium and chrome. I noticed that my bottleneck here is actually not going to be energy, but UU matter. It's kind of funny. I added 4 more recyclers to get this matter fabricator running at basically 100% uptime. I think 8 to 1 might actually be the theoretical perfect ratio. So it's making UU matter fast, but we're using it faster. Still, eventually, we hit our limit here in these drawers, or these bins, right? These bins fill up at 4,000 and something. If we need the higher limit, we can upgrade them, but I think 4,000 is enough. And then this will, it'll consequently cause our level emitter to turn off, which will cause our it to stop consuming UU matter and yada yada yada. In the meantime, I found that my redstone control loop here is still broken. So no matter what I do, it always ends up broken in one way, shape, or form. The problem I'm having is that the redstone reader here is not updating the value it's reading. Like, it's reading a comparator value of 15, right? That's not true. It's supposed to be reading a comparator value of a lot less than 15 because the efficiency has dropped. I think it's acting as if it needs a block update. Let's see what happens if we just give it a block update. Does it read the new value? It does. So like, it doesn't update to read the new value until it receives a block update. I don't understand. Okay, so I need something that gives it a block update like every couple seconds. It's so silly. Why are you like this, Redstone? Why are you so weird and deranged? Oh, my hacky solution here is to drop a piston being ticked every, what do I have it set to 10 seconds? We can probably set it longer than this. 500 is what, 25 seconds? That'll cause a block update on the redstone reader. That'll cause it to actually update the variable or the value it's reading. I don't know if it's the redstone reader at fault or if it's the fusion core that's not updating its state, but it's weird to say the least. I've been testing it a while. I saw it change from 10 to 11, although it takes it like, a minute before it even gets to the next state. So I'm gonna watch this a little bit longer, make sure when it hits 15 that it actually turns off. But I'm like 90% sure we've got this reactor running now. Anyways, I think we are also way over time on today, so why don't we wrap up here? We'll come back next time, hopefully to a reactor that has not melted down because its control loop failed. But if everything works out, we should come back to a reactor that's running. And it's funny that the connection points don't render right when I look from inside either. So many weird, unexplainable behavior today. Whatever. But yeah, this should be hopefully fully charged by next time, holding 25.6 billion RF, and we should be able to move on to better and brighter things. Jelly-filled donut. All right, well, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.